Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always.
Today, we're going to get into the world of custom notebooks.
Oh, cool.
But we're not just talking about, like, those pretty ones you see at the store,
Right. We're going deeper.
behind the scenes. Yeah, exactly. Like, how are these things actually made?
The whole process.
And we're going to be focusing on how data analytics is changing how these notebooks are sourced and manufactured.
It's a really interesting story, actually.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at an article
Okay.
by Leo Xia, who's the CEO of Lion Paper Products.
Okay.
It's called From Data to Design, How a Custom Notebook Manufacturer Uses Analytics to Optimize Sourcing.
Kitschy.
Yeah. And Leo, he kicks things off with kind of a personal story where he's like literally facing this mountain of
bad notebooks.
subpar notebook.
Okay, okay.
And he realizes that just going with his gut,
doesn't work.
it's not working anymore.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, I feel like that's
Especially, yeah.
probably true for so many industries.
Yeah. In such a competitive landscape, just relying on your gut,
Intuition.
yeah, can lead to some pretty big mistakes,
Makes sense.
especially with global supply chains.
Right, like so many things can go wrong.
Totally. Unpredictable prices, inconsistent suppliers, delays. I mean, it can really hurt your bottom line.
And your brand.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, your reputation.
Customers remember that stuff.
They do. Leo actually talks about this in the article.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, there's this story about a time when a shipment of custom planners
Oh, no.
arrived late, and they were riddled with quality issues.
Like what kind of quality issues?
Oh, inconsistent paper quality.
Oh, no.
Yeah, weak binding.
Oh, that's the worst.
The kind of stuff that really impacts the user experience.
For sure. Yeah, if you're paying for a nice notebook, you don't want the pages to be falling apart.
So yeah, customer complaints started rolling in, and their reputation took a hit.
I can only imagine.
It was a real wake-up call for them.
They must have been freaking out. So many businesses must have to deal with stuff like this, though.
Oh, totally. It's surprisingly common, actually.
Really?
Over 70% of B2B buyers say they struggle with supplier inconsistencies.
Wow, that's a lot.
It's a big problem. So
Well, okay, so we see that just going with your gut and hoping for the best doesn't always work.
it doesn't cut it.
What's the solution then? Like, what did Leo do?
Well, he kind of had this aha moment where he realized that if they just tracked everything from, their suppliers, the material costs, the production times, even customer feedback.
That's a lot of data.
It is. But he realized they could actually start to see these patterns
Okay.
and make more informed decisions.
So instead of just reacting to problems, they could, like, prevent them from happening in the first place.
Exactly. And even find opportunities to improve quality and reduce costs.
That's smart.
And even make things more sustainable.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so can you give me, like, a specific example of how this actually played out?
Oh, for sure. So remember how I mentioned the inconsistent paper quality?
Yeah.
They were able to look at the data,
Uh-huh.
and they figured out that a small change to the GSM of the paper,
GSM.
oh yeah, stands for grams per square meter.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it's a measure of the paper's thickness.
Got it.
And they realized that even a small change could make the notebooks way more durable.
Interesting. So did that, like, make the notebooks way more expensive to produce?
You'd think, right? But actually, no.
Really?
They were able to find this sweet spot where they could increase the GSM just enough to make them more durable
Okay.
without impacting the cost too much.
So it's like finding that perfect balance.
Yeah, the power of data.
That's really cool. So how did they go from, like, 0 to data-driven? Did they have to hire a bunch of data scientists or something?
Not really. Actually,
Really?
Leo actually breaks it down into 7 core strategies.
Okay, let's hear them.
And they're surprisingly practical.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah, pretty much. So the first step,
Okay, what's number 1?
well, it all starts with knowing what you want, right? You got to define your metrics and goals.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it's surprising how many businesses just dive into data without really thinking about what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's like going on a road trip without a map or a destination,
Exactly. You might either somewhere interesting.
but probably lost.
Haha, yeah. So Leo really emphasizes that you got to have those concrete metrics, for quality, cost, and delivery.
Okay, those are the big 3, right?
The pillars of a good sourcing strategy.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
When we're talking about quality, what kind of metrics are we looking at? Is it just about, like, making sure there aren't any defects?
Well, it's definitely more than that.
Okay.
You got to think about the big picture, the whole user experience.
Okay, yeah.
So for Lion Paper Products, it's things like the GSM, the binding strength, and of course the defect rate.
They want those notebooks to last.
Yeah, they want them to be durable. But these metrics can be adapted to any industry, really.
So like a clothing company would be looking at different things, right?
Exactly. Like fabric durability, sticking quality, color consistency.
It's all about what matters most to your customers.
And figuring out how to measure it.
Makes sense. Okay, what about cost? I feel like that's always top of mind for businesses.
Totally. Everyone wants to keep costs down.
For sure.
But Leo's point is, Don't just get fixated on the unit price.
Okay.
Got to look at the total cost of ownership.
Like shipping and stuff?
Yeah, shipping, tariffs, even returns because of, quality issues.
Yeah, it all adds up.
Right. Got to see the big picture.
So it's not just about finding the cheapest option up front.
Exactly. Got to think long term.
Okay. And then there's delivery, which is super important.
Especially for custom orders.
You don't want to be waiting forever.
Right. Delays can really mess things up.
Definitely.
So Leo says track those key metrics, like lead time.
How long it takes from ordering to delivery.
Yep. And on-time delivery rate.
So you can see if a supplier is consistently late.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've defined our goals. We know what metrics to track.
Now it's time to collect the data.
This is where it gets overwhelming, right? Like, where do you even start?
Well, Leo, you had a few suggestions.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, talk to your suppliers.
They probably already have a lot of data, right?
Yeah, they're already tracking things like quality checks, delivery times, and cost breakdowns.
So you don't have to start from scratch.
Exactly. And don't forget about your customers.
Customer feedback.
Yeah, they're a gold mine of information. Surveys, reviews, social media comments, it can all be really valuable.
You can see how people are actually using your products.
Exactly. And what they like and don't like.
So it's not just about numbers, it's about understanding your customers.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other sources of data we should be looking at?
Well, what about your own internal data?
We probably have a lot of data we're not even using.
Most likely. Things like sales records, inventory levels, production data.
We got to dig into that.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can find when you start connecting the dots.
Okay, so we've got all this data. Now what? How do we make sense of it all?
Well, that's where things like data visualization come in.
Okay.
Leo talks about using software like Tableau to create charts and graphs.
To make it easier to understand.
Exactly. It's much easier to see patterns and trends when you can visualize the data.
I'm a visual learner, so that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and you can spot things you might miss if you're just staring at a spreadsheet.
Like what kind of things?
Well, for example, if you're tracking delivery times and you see that one supplier is consistently late.
That's a red flag.
Exactly.
And then you can address it.
Right, before it becomes a bigger problem.
So you're not just reacting to problems, you're preventing them.
Exactly. Data can give you that early warning system.
I like that.
And Leo also talks about real-time insights.
Oh, cool.
Imagine being able to track your materials from the moment they leave the factory.
That's amazing.
It's like having eyes everywhere.
So you'd always know where everything is?
Yeah, and if there are any delays...
You'd know right away.
Exactly. And you can set up alerts so you get notified immediately if something goes wrong.
No more waiting for a weekly report?
Right. You can be much more proactive.
Okay, this is all sounding super high-tech, but I gotta ask.
What's that?
What about the human element? Do we risk losing that by getting too focused on data?
That's a great point. And Leo actually talks about that in the article.
He does.
Yeah, he's all about data, but he also emphasizes the importance of relationships.
With your suppliers.
Exactly. Data shouldn't replace human interaction.
It should enhance it.
Right. He suggests regular check-ins with your suppliers, even just a quick call once a month.
Just to touch base.
Yeah. To talk about any concerns, share feedback.
Make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly.
That open communication is so important.
It builds trust.
And it's easier to solve problems when you have that trust.
Definitely. So, yeah, data can actually make your relationship stronger.
That's interesting. It's not about replacing people with robots.
Right.
It's about using data to work better together. Okay, so I'm seeing how data can improve quality, cost, delivery, and even relationships.
But there's more.
There's more.
Yeah, Leo's next strategy is all about sustainability.
Going green.
Exactly. And data can play a big role in that, too. It's really about using data to make smart choices about the environment,
Okay, so how does that actually work?
Well, you can track the carbon footprint of your materials, for example.
Oh, interesting.
You can compare how sustainable different suppliers are.
See who's really walking the walk.
Exactly. And you can even look at what customers are saying, see if they actually care about eco-friendly products.
So it's not just about guessing, you have the data to back it up.
Right. And you know what's interesting? The data actually shows that being sustainable is good for business.
Really?
Yeah, like over 60% of consumers say they'd pay more for sustainable products.
Wow, so it's not just good for the planet.
It's good for your bottom line, too.
That's pretty convincing. So how can data help us stay ahead of the curve when it comes to sustainability?
Well, you can use tools like Google Trends.
Oh yeah, to see what people are searching for.
Exactly. See what's trending, what people are interested in.
See if sustainability is actually on their minds.
Right. And keep an eye on industry reports, see what new eco-friendly materials are coming out.
So you can be the first to use them.
Yeah, be innovative.
That's cool. And of course, always listen to your customers.
Always. See what they're saying, what they want.
So we've talked about a lot today, defining metrics, collecting data, visualizing trends, building relationships, embracing sustainability.
It's a lot.
It is. What's the final piece of advice that Leo gives in his article?
It's maybe the most important one. Never stop learning.
Never stop learning.
Yeah, you got to keep up with the market, Things are always changing.
Consumer tastes change, new technologies come out.
Exactly. And sometimes things happen that you just can't predict.
So you have to be ready to adapt.
Exactly.
So how do you stay ahead of the curve?
Well, like we said, stay up to date on industry news, use tools like Google Trends, but most importantly, listen to your customers.
They'll tell you what they want.
Exactly. Be proactive, anticipate what's coming next.
So it's not enough to just set up a system and let it run on autopilot.
You got to be constantly evolving.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
I know, it really makes you think.
I'm starting to see how these ideas can be applied to so many different parts of business and life in general.
Absolutely.
So let's recap. What are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first, define your needs.
Know what you want before you even start looking at data.
Exactly. Then, do your research when choosing suppliers.
Don't just go for the cheapest option.
Right, look for quality, transparency, and sustainability.
And use technology to your advantage.
Track your orders, analyze your data, set up alerts.
Be proactive.
And of course, don't forget the human element.
Build those strong relationships with your suppliers.
Communication is key.
And never stop learning and adapting.
The world is constantly changing, so you got to change with it.
So for our listeners, why should they care about all of this?
Because it's not just about sourcing notebooks.
It's about making better decisions in every aspect of your life.
Whether you're running a business, managing a project, or even just trying to be more productive.
Data can help you get there.
It's about using information to achieve your goals.
I love that.
Leo said it best. Data is not just about numbers. It's about understanding, adapting, and ultimately thriving in a world that's constantly evolving.
That's a great quote.
It really sums it all up.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of data-driven sourcing, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Think about all the areas in your life where you make decisions based on gut feeling or habit. What if you started applying these data principles to those areas? How could it change your approach, or how could it help you achieve your goals? Let us know what you think in the comments, and until next time, happy deep diving.